Well, welcome to this next tutorial on nowRail, and today I'm going to be looking at how to integrate JMRI. Now, I have to be honest, this was a request item. I've never used JMRI before, so it's been a bit of a learning curve for me, and that means I may have made some errors in the JMRI configuration. If I have, please put some comments or send me an email or something to let me know so that I can put any corrections in. I must admit, you'll see as the video goes on, using nowRail is much easier to set up than JMRI. Anyway, let's get started. So the setup for today on the webcam, JMRI is running on this ESP32. I've got some sensors running through a shift register on this particular ESP32. I've got another set of sensors on this center ESP32, and this ESP32 is acting as a system monitor because not only am I sending sensor data to JMRI, but JMRI is also sending turnout commands and light commands into nowRail. So I will be able to see those on the monitor over here. Now, as always, there's some information on the nowRail page on the Digital Town site. If you click on the JMRI link, obviously you are going to need to download the latest version because JMRI and sensors have been added in version 0.6. So going down to the JMRI link, the setup for JMRI is very simple. It's literally uncommenting 2 lines and commenting out 1 line. So let's have a look at how that's done. So this is the latest version of nowRail. And in the setup, there is a serial connection that is made. And one of the things that is important in that serial connection, notice the baud rate, 115200, and the connection type is serial _8N2. That is the type of serial connection that JMRI requires. So just leave that as it is. Then all you need to do is go to the user setup. Click on user setup H and you will find this line, JMRI CMRI. If you uncomment that and then uncomment the line below, the other bit that you need to do is comment out diagnostics. Now the reason for this is that nowRail sends out diagnostics to the serial monitor. When you connect to JMRI via the USB connection, that then takes the connection that would go to the serial monitor. Now obviously if you're sending out diagnostic information, JMRI is going to be receiving that and it's not going to be very happy. So turn the diagnostic mode off. Now when we set up JMRI, you set up a node. Now the node that I have used is node 1. You can use any number, I think it's up to 179 or something. No, I just used it as 1. There is another setting here, which is the JMRI CMRI num cards. Now this is part of the connection setup in JMRI, and I'll show you that setting as we work through the JMRI setup. From a nowRail point of view, the system is now ready to go. At this point, this node will receive any turnout and light functions that are set up in JMRI, and it will broadcast it out over ESP-NOW to the various nowRail nodes that will then activate your lights, animations, or whatever else you want it to do. The other bit, of course, is that I have set up sensors on those boards, and this same connection is now going to send that sensor data to JMRI. Now, one more thing about this line here. I am new to JMRI. I really have been going through a bit of a learning curve. So you'll see in the setup that I set 24 input cards and 24 output cards. Now, each card, from what I can make out, gives 8 sensors or turnouts. So 24 times 8 gives me 192 sensors or 192 turnout or lights sending information to nowRail and then onto my layout. Obviously, this number can be changed by changing the number of input and output cards in your setup. nowRail is able to deal with the full number of cards. So if you set all the cards, I only set sort of 24, but if you wanted to go the whole way, just add as many as you want and nowRail will deal with it. So this is how I set up JMRI. Apologies for those of you who are JMRI experts. I'm on this learning curve. So this is what I did. Go to in Panel Pro, go to Preferences, and this is the setup that I have. So I'm using CMRI as the connection. It's serial. I've then set up COM port 15, which is the COM port that my ESP32 is connected to on my computer. Connection prefix, I've just got C. I just left it as it was. Connection name, CMRI. Make sure that you set the baud rate to 115200. The reason for this is it's a very high baud rate, and it means the information is processed quicker in nowRail, which is important because nowRail also has to be sending out commands over ESP-NOW. The output interval, I believe, is the number of times per second that it sends data to nowRail. Again, I just left that as the default. Then we come to configure nodes. So once I've clicked on configure nodes, this is the screen that comes up. I've already put a node in. I'm going to click on add node to show you what I did. Let's just bring this down so we can see. So I'm going to have to call this node 2 because I've already got node 1. I then use this node type, USIC_SUSIC. I have no idea what that means. This information I have left as it is. And then you set up your various cards. Now, an input card, for every input card, you can have 8 sensors sending information to JMRI. So to get the number that I wanted, I was just doing some testing. I just set up 8. Have I got that right? Missed one out. So I've set up 8 cards, 0 to 7, and then the output cards, again, for each output card, that gives you 8 different items that could be outputting from JMRI to your layout. Again, I'm no expert on this stuff, but it all seemed to work fine. Once you've done that, click on add node and you're ready to go. Now, obviously, if you're fortunate enough to have a very large layout that you need more than 192 sensors or more than 192 turnouts or whatever, just add more cards and just make sure that you let nowRail know the number of cards that you put in. I've set the value as 24, even though I'm only using 16 cards. If you get to more than 24 cards, just increase that number and nowRail will deal with it right up to, I think the full number, there were 63 cards. It will take all 63 cards with no problem at all. So that's how I set up nowRail as a node. Now, once you have that node set up, the next thing is to go to Tools, Tables, and I did lights first because it's a very simple test. Now you'll notice I have added a number of lights. If you want to add a light, let's bring the screen down. When you put your address in, you'll notice the system connection. I'm CMRI, so make sure you've done that. The next thing is to add your hardware address. Now, my node is node 1, so my light value must start with a 1. Then, if you see the mouse pointer, I can put basically a 3-digit address after that. So let's call this light number 64. Whoops, sorry, that's just 1064. And create. And there we have, my light is now number 64. So if I were to turn this on or off, I will see that value, that turnout, start to trigger in nowRail. So I've now brought up a serial monitor. Now, before you get a little bit confused, JMRI is connected via the USB connection directly to the computer. Then I have the serial monitor that we're looking at is actually connected to this ESP32, because as this ESP32 receives the instruction from JMRI, it broadcasts that command over the nowRail system so that all the other nodes can process it and, if necessary, take action as required. So going back to our system, if I've now set up number 64, because the 1 is missed out because that is the node number, if I now turn this on, you can see that I get the command comes through. So the other ESP32 has received that command over nowRail. Now you'll notice it's been sent 5 times. That's because the way nowRail works, if the command is not responded to, it will retransmit the command up to 5 times in case there's a communication error. So clicking on these different items, we can see that the commands are now being sent through from JMRI straight through to nowRail. Now, once we've got the light set up, which I believe in JMRI is mainly for signaling, again, I may be wrong, but the next thing is turnout. So tools, tables, turnouts. Now you'll notice I set my range of turnouts from number 100 to 109. Don't forget the first one is a node number. So if you were node number 2 in JMRI and obviously in nowRail, then turnout number 100 would be 2100. Again, once these are all set up, let's just trigger them over. Let's clear the output. We've got 109. Now, when they are unknown, when you click on them, you don't get anything. It's only as you close or open the different turnouts that you will start to get a transmission that is sent from JMRI to nowRail. But at this point, if you can see, the accessory 107 has been given a direction of 0. That has now been transmitted over nowRail, and the nowRail ESP32 somewhere on your layout can now trigger a servo or a solenoid point motor, whatever you want, but that's all without any wiring going across. It's just a simple ESP-NOW transmission. So from an outbound from JMRI for the lights and turnouts, which seem to be just accessory decoder commands, you can see that it is a relatively simple system to set up. What I'm now going to do is set up for sensors. So again, going to the Panel Pro, tables, this time sensors. And as you can see, I have set up a lot of sensors already. Again, they start off with a 1. So the way this system works, I suppose I could have a maximum of 999 sensors. I don't know how it all works. You'll see I've got some active and inactive. I'm now going to turn on one of my ESP-32s that is now going to start sending some transmissions. You can now see the sensor data coming through at the bottom, and you can see that these different items are going active or inactive as the sensor information is received. So at that point, everything is working. If you want some fun, you can click on the CMRI tab, go down to the CMRI monitor. Let's just bring that up, and you will see that right now these are all polls that are being sent out. Let's just freeze the screen. So CMRI is sending out a poll. nowRail is now responding with the sensors and the current settings of all those sensors. So you can see everything is working very, very nicely. So that's it really for this video today. As you can see, the different nodes are all sending and receiving information, and nowRail is transmitting that out to the layout from JMRI, as well as transmitting the sensor data to JMRI. So as always, I hope that's been useful to you, and it just shows just what you can do when you start to connect different systems together. And I've tried to do it in a way that is as painless as possible. I apologize for any mistakes I've made on the JMRI information. I'm sure there's people out there who are far more knowledgeable than me. And if I have made any real blunders, please stick a comment under the video so that I can make the corrections later. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.